All right, excellent. In this lecture, we will begin working on data selection in pandas data frames. We will first introduce the concept of subset selection and then focus on its application on pandas data frames. Data selection or subset selection in a pandas data frame means extracting elements, rows, columns, or subsets from such an object. In practice, data selection allows us to work on just a portion of a data set. Since this is exactly what you will do most of the time in the stage of analysis, the ability to extract specific parts of the data is crucial. Now, let's focus on how you can achieve this by using pandas. One way to select a subset of a data frame is through indexing. Indexing means using one or both types of indexes a data frame has, the row index and the column index, to access or select specific parts of the data. Or to put in other words, indexing means providing certain values as a row and/or column specifiers, also called row and column indexers. With their help, we can point to specific rows or columns of the dataset, so we can extract a specific entry or a desired subset in our data. So far, this is all theoretical. So how about a real application? To see how we can do this directly on a real-world dataset, let's go to Jupyter and import the lending company CSV. Let's also set the string ID column as an index. We will also create a copy of this dataset so that you can focus on data selection and not worry about the state of the initial data. Let's see how we can refer to the data of a specific column. One option is to use an attribute type of access. For instance, if we are interested in the information in the product column, we can execute lendingcompany_data.product. In the same way, we can use .location to retrieve the data stored in the location column. See? An alternative solution is to use the indexing operator. In terms of syntax, this means adding a pair of square brackets right after the object's name to specify the operations during the indexing process. When applied on a data frame, this technique allows us to provide the column name of interest as a string. For example, we can write product within brackets right after the name of our data frame, which is lending company data. Naturally, we can apply the same technique to obtain data from the location column. Great! In fact, the second approach is considered more professional because it will still work even if the column name of interest contains whitespace characters. An example of a relevant column name would be product price. In such a circumstance, opting for the dot notation syntax would lead to an error message. But using whitespace in a column name is not considered good practice anyhow. The reason is that choosing labels with whitespace will lead to errors in many situations you'll come across while coding, not just when selecting data. That's why a column name with a whitespace character can't act as a valid identifier for Python. Long story short, what we just described is another reminder for you to use a different set of rules when creating labels. For example, you can write names in camel case. Okay, now that we've settled on using the bracket syntax for column data selection, let's explore a few related functionalities, as well as potential issues to look out for. First, please don't forget that Python is case sensitive. So, in our case, if location isn't capitalized, for instance, you'll obtain a long error message. Second, and this one is very important, once you make sure you've written the column name correctly and you've placed it between just a single pair of brackets, you'll obtain a series object. This reinforces the statement that a data frame column inherits the characteristics of a pandas series. However, if we want to obtain a data frame, albeit composed of a single column, we need to use double brackets around the string location. In a more technical language, this means that we should place a nested list containing a single element, for instance, the string location, within the indexing operator. The latter is represented by its own pair of brackets. That's how we end up with double brackets. The output this time will be visually different. It looks like our lending company data frame, which we imported at the start of the lesson. To be completely certain of the type, you could refer to our favorite type function. Perfect! So far, we've tackled extracting a single column from our data. But in fact, nesting a list within the indexing operator is most needed when we want to extract data from several columns. Please note that the column names don't have to be adjacent or in the order provided in the dataset. That's why we can have both location and product on our list in that order. Python syntax requires separating them with a comma, while good practice dictates to also add a whitespace character after the comma to improve legibility. Execute, and here they are, the location and product columns organized into a new data frame. A more elegant way to obtain the same result is to store the list containing the column names in a separate variable that you can later nest within the square brackets of the indexing operator. Professionals prefer this approach because it allows them to store several column names in the given variable, and at the same time, to assign a more appropriate name to it. For example, that's why we've called our list prod loc, which is just short for product location. Moreover, when displaying the output, you will usually be interested in just the general shape of the data frame, so you'll apply the head method as well. Nice! Finally, to verify that using double brackets is the only way to obtain a data frame, you can try executing lending company data, product, location within a single pair of brackets. As you do that, you'll see an error message saying that the problem stems from an incorrect indication of the column names. Alright, before we wrap things up, let's address one final detail. Whether you'll be working with Python lists, pandas series, and data frames, or NumPy arrays, you'll always need to access parts of the available data. To do that, you'll be using a similar syntax that may behave differently under the various types of data selection. That's why we advise you to take your time and complete all the provided exercises patiently. We believe that's the approach that will help you handle the relevant syntactical subtleties in the long run. This will do for now. Thank you for watching.